Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing a weekly dive of all the news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk you need for virtual reality gaming every Friday. I'm Rick McAfee, producer and editor of this podcast.
I'm Jay Bratt. I'm a virtual reality YouTuber.
I'm Adam Charlton, a VR game developer who finally got their index. Woo!
I feel like we should have had like a section of the script dedicated to. I really want to hear like in depth what you think of the index.
I can go into in-depth next week when I've had a little bit more time to play with it.
And hold it in for a while.
Yet again, Destiny, we couldn't pull her away from the Jonas Brothers. You know, she went to the tour and now she's watching all of like their background videos, and what can you do? So
cannot blame her. A little jealous myself. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
There's a little part of me. It's like, dang, I wish I was there with them.
Oh gosh.
Her fellow Jonas Brothers enthusiast, PHIA.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm PHIA. It's nice to meet you guys. I'm the host of the virtual reality show over on YouTube, and I'm also a VTuber, and I do Twitch streaming. So that's a little bit about me.
We're gonna ask you more about it a little bit later, but are you able to give like a brief like sentence or two? What is a quote VTuber as opposed to I don't know, a YouTuber?
So VTuber stands for virtual YouTuber. So basically what qualifies someone to be a virtual YouTuber is that they have to have a virtual avatar in which they create content with.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And speaking of VTubing, I suppose technically we are VTubing right now because
we are. We're all VTubers here.
We're all VTubers because we are all sitting here in VR. We're actually at a very lovely little campfire scene. We were doing that studio for a little bit, but some of you guys were telling us that was too boring. So now we're at a very homey campfire, and it's actually pretty cool. So if you want to see us and our lovely VR faces, come check us out on our YouTube channel. Links in the description. We run this podcast in 4 sections. First, a Q&A section from our Discord and Patreon community. Second, a VR gaming news section. Third, we'll be talking about our experiences with some of the new VR games to come out this week. Do we have any new? We don't have any new games this week. Actually, okay, is your game... Did you see the first game you're going to be talking about? The sound something?
It's been out. It's been out
since like April. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So no new games, but we are going to be talking about that Onward update. Adam and I have played that. We'll be letting you know just how awful it is. And lastly, we have a discussion section. This week, we will be talking about, well, VTubing. In a sense, we're talking about virtual reality entertainment, what that means, what we think that future looks like. It's going to be super exciting, and I'm really looking forward to talking with Feet about it. And these guys, you know, it's whatever. Last week, is this accurate? Last week we covered VR treadmills? Yes, that's accurate. Okay. Last week we covered VR treadmills. So check out last week's podcast to hear all about that. And with that, let's move into the Q&A. So first question, VR Ryan, who I always read as Brian, even though there's 2 R's. I just can't help it. He asks us, what do you think is the best bang for your buck VR headset? We'll keep this one brief, just like the headset and then a sentence or two. I'm going to say the Rift S because, well, okay, if you have a PC, it's the Rift S. If you don't have a PC, it's the Quest. Those feel like obvious answers to me, but moving on.
I second the Quest.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Cheap, do it all at once, you're all good.
Right.
It's got to be the Quest for me. I just got the virtual desktop app. I haven't tried it yet, but I want to see how the wireless is. That's one of the things that I think might be. Everyone says it's pretty good, so I'm excited.
Yeah, again, can't beat the Quest. All in one, self-contained. You don't even need a computer to play a lot of the games, so you can't beat the Quest.
And this is in comparison to like not just like PC headsets, but also we're taking into account PlayStation VR headsets, the very cheap, kind of terrible Windows mixed reality headsets. Right there,
He's over there shaking his head.
No competition.
Wait, I forgot. Does Labo count? Labo.
Oh my God,
Labo's
Labo.
That's
Best
top
VR,
headset.
hands down, of the year 2020.
Oh my goodness, I always forget about that one. Yeah. So this isn't just like off the top of our head. This is something we're pretty sure about and we've given some thought to. All right, Adam, you got the next one?
I do. So the next question is from Rumbo, who asks, Adam, how is your game going? Well, I gotta say, it's slow. So, just to give you a brief explanation, in the past year, I have had a baby, had 3 jobs, moved to a different state, and almost had coronavirus. So, it has been
Oh
a
my
busy year.
god. You poor thing.
So, yeah. So, I gotta say, it's slow going. It is going, but it's slow going.
Adam,
So
I don't know. I don't know. I hear this
yeah.
list you give of family, health, occupation. I feel like
Mhm.
all these things are trumped by you making a VR game. Like you need to fix your priorities here.
Yeah, I gotta share my
Obviously,
voice with the world, right?
family's got to be down at the bottom, and VR game has got to be up here. Obviously.
And my
Yes.
baby, it'll, survival of the fittest. He'll either
Oh
figure out how to
no.
get his own
Oh
food.
I'm
no.
sorry, kid. I have this to work on.
Oh my goodness. Uh, Galaxar Music asked, which game did you get too immersed in? His was Gorn. Mine was Rec Room because one time you can see the video. It's all over my channel where Nat and I were playing dodgeball and we had mats. We were at separate ends of the room, but I was so into dodgeball I had gotten my mat across the room next to her and I just punched her right in the face while throwing a ball. It was brutal. Luckily, the headset took the impact. She was wearing the PSVR, which kind of floats off your face. It took most of the impact. She was fine, but the sound of that moment when it just punched, it was pretty bad. What about you guys? What was the game you got too immersed in once?
Definitely always VR chat. I would say I don't know if you guys over on my channel I actually made a video about phantom touch and how people can have like sensations that they feel like in VR just by watching it. And for me, I never really experienced that until I got my index and then I went into VR chat. And the most immersed that I felt was there was this world titled In My Dreams. And there was this like rose that you could pick up. And I remember running my finger over it and I could feel the petals. Like I could feel the texture of the
Oh, that's
petals
wicked.
around just by like looking at it. Yeah, it was insane. But that was like the most immersed I think I've ever been was feeling the rose.
That's
Wow.
actually really cool. Like of
That's
the
really
answers
cool.
I was expecting from us, like touching a flower petals wasn't the one. I was like, yeah, that's what she's gonna bring up.
Mhm.
What about you,
Yeah,
Rip?
that's interesting. I don't. I mean, I certainly get immersed in games, but I'm never quote like I've never like hit something. I'm usually pretty good about my guardian boundaries, so like it's not like I have that story to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I guess it's less than of an immersion and more just getting like extremely focused, and
Yeah,
I can
into the
definitely
zone.
like yeah, I can definitely like hit some people that walk into my play space if I'm playing like Beat Saber, then they don't stand a chance. Um, because I gotta hit those. I don't care if they tell me that they're passing by. I gotta get a good score. So
Stop for nothing. Absolutely.
yeah, stop for nothing. So I guess Beat Saber. I know it's a boring answer.
No, Beat Saber is like really surprising. I think people who don't play VR don't really understand what it's like to hop into Beat Saber for the
Oh
first
yeah.
time because it's so like, oh my god, like my first time at Beat Saber, like that tripped me out so incredibly hard. Like seeing all the boxes and the lights and the depth of it, like being in front of you. I feel like it's a good way to feel like you're actually in like a virtual space. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
I'm with you. I think it's a perfect answer.
I have the hardest time, especially because on like just a written on paper level, it's a rhythm game, right? So you always have like the hardest time like telling people no, like this is one of the best VR games. It's a
Right.
total blast, and it's like got this amazing VR experience, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
no. And you just have to
Well,
like
They
you
won't
have to practically force
understand.
the headset on
Those
them.
non-VR
well,
people,
it's
they
the
don't
perfect
get it.
example. Yeah, it's the perfect example of like you really have to experience it to
It
understand
is,
because otherwise
absolutely.
it's like Guitar Hero, but man, it's like 3D. So it's just you really don't understand until you're in it.
You gotta
Mhm.
stop with the
Mhm.
Guitar Hero. Someone said that to me, and they almost lost me completely. I feel like it's nothing like Guitar Hero. It's nothing like it. It's more like DDR, strangely, which I also don't like DDR. But I think it's closer to that than Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero is just touching buttons. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I want to just note chat is in fact loving the location.
Oh,
Knew
awesome.
it. Knew it.
It's nice and cozy.
Less
Adam,
comfortable to sit.
did you mention a game? Did you mention a game you got too
No, I
immersed in?
didn't, but I gotta say it was Pavlov. When I first started
Mm.
really getting into Pavlov, I ran out of ammo, someone was coming up, and so I grabbed my knife and threw it at them and punched straight into the wall. So
That's
that
rough.
was a bit too much for me.
Mm.
But our next question is also from VR Ryan, not Ryan, and who asks, what is the best, most immersive VR game that you love and would say, like, holy shit, all the time? And so for me, it's got to be every time Elite Dangerous. There is no better feeling than sitting in that cockpit, having all the instruments in front of you. It just really feels like you're there, and you can look around and see the really beautiful starscape that they have. That just blows me away every single time.
Every single time you say that, it blows me away because it was cool and all, but I just didn't have that experience with it. It was a good game, but like to me, No Man's Sky is more immersive than that. I can get out of
Really?
my ship.
Ugh,
I can get out of my ship and walk around
no.
on land. I can get in my ship and I can take off. I don't know what you guys are talking about with Elite Dangerous. Phia, please tell me you don't care about Elite Dangerous.
No, I'm definitely on the No Man's Sky team there.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right.
Well, it's 2-on-2 because I'm
When Destiny comes back from the Jonas Brothers, she's
There
gonna be the third one against you two.
And obviously
she
she's
doesn't
very
like No Man's Sky
intelligent
either.
because she likes
Yeah,
Jonas
but
Brothers.
she'll hate Elite Dangerous. So it'll still be a half a point for my side because she'll hate yours.
So was No Man's Sky your pick, or were you just saying in reference
I
to
think
Elite
it's
Dangerous?
better than Elite Dangerous, but no,
Ugh.
I would still say Half-Life Alyx every time I get back in there. The
Oh, yeah.
tension I feel
Oh, yeah.
walking around in that world, oh my gosh, it's almost too much.
Yeah, I was gonna say Half-Life Alyx for me as well. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact when you're like touching things and you get the feedback, like the little rumble on your controller of like actually feeling things. I feel like every single time you do that, because I spend so much time in VR chat, when you suddenly like have that more like reactive environment, you're just like, whoa, what's going on here?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this feels so cool. I hope they add that into VR chat at some
Oh,
point where you can
please.
actually like
Yeah.
interact with things more like lifelike. I feel like that would be the one thing that takes this game to like the whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
I
and that's
sus-
so surprising for me every time that people bring up Half-Life Alyx, because I loved Half-Life Alyx. It's an incredible game, but I always just felt like it was a game. It never took it to that next level that maybe Elite Dangerous could, where I can just lose myself in the world. I always kind of felt still that it was still a game. So I'm really surprised when people talk about it like you guys do,
Mm.
Do you think you could put like your finger on why you think that was?
I don't know, but for some reason, maybe it was just because I was doing it on the Vive, and it always felt like I was looking
The
through that
vibe.
screen door, right? But
Right.
but for me, it was always, I could tell it was in the game, and with Elite Dangerous, sometimes I kind of come close to losing that sometimes.
Mm.
By next week, you got to spend some time in Half-Life Alyx. I want to hear if your mind has been changed on the next
Oh yeah.
podcast.
Need to hear the
Will
opinion.
do.
Mhm.
And what about you, Rip?
I'm probably gonna have to also go with Half-Life Alyx. That game is just I've said it before. It looks gorgeous. It plays really well. It definitely, if I were to have, like, put my finger on why there's some gamey aspects, it does do some, I guess, shortcuts in terms of not or yeah UI. It has some UI elements that are gamey, and I think that was for the better. I don't wish they did it any other way in terms of like rather than picking up weapons and stuff like that, you have to like go through
Yeah,
a
your
menu and it
weapon
just kind of pops
selection.
in your hand. Yeah, there's a lot of, I could go on, but there's a bunch of elements like that where they clearly wanted to focus, excuse me, on approachability and ease of use rather than having immersion just for the sake of immersion. Um, so like, but you can play a game that tries to go for that Boneworks, and there's even with all the updates, it's still got some jank. So I liked it, and I think that is probably, in my opinion, the best example of like really well done immersion, especially the creepy parts.
Yeah.
Like for those, I don't want to spoil anything, but for those who remember that one section where you're about to go into a particularly dark place, and you have like a little ledge to get there, right? And you're at that ledge, you're like, I know I have to go here to progress, but I don't want to.
The horror.
All right. And with that, we are able to move on to the news. But first, this news segment. I am going to trip over my words. I can tell it's like the beginning. But first, this nuke says, there we go. This news segment is brought to you in partnership with Asterion. Does your VR headset still live in a cardboard box? Well, here at Full Dive Gaming, we believe your headset should rest on a stand worthy of your VR device. And that's why we're excited to recommend the Aura Universal VR Stand. It combines and I messed up already. It is compatible, not combining. It is compatible with every VR headset, and it looks great, guys. This thing is minimalist, it is modern, it is relatively low profile. So, I mean, this thing will fit on your desk, it'll fit on your living room coffee table, I guess. It'll fit anywhere. And it's really cool. Got a nice, like, clear acrylic plate. It that also lights up with RGB, which is just like one of the coolest
RGB
looking things.
LED.
Yes. Have you
Uh,
seen this? Have you seen this yet?
No, I
The
haven't, but
Aura?
now I want it.
well, we got a code for you.
Oh boy.
I almost like want to like. I'll do it when we're like talking about something else. I'll try and drop a picture into so you can see it. But anyway, also it has a USB port. Got to mention that because it's so useful. I didn't expect because I don't have like I have a Rift S, so I don't need to like plug in the controllers right. It uses batteries, and I have the Rift S, so the Rift S doesn't need to plug in via USB. At least it needs a like I plug it on the back, right, not into another device. So I never thought I'd use it. I just like would talk about it. But honestly, because it's located on my desk and it's not like behind the PC or anything, I actually use this little USB port all the time to like charge my phone and just like whatever I need to plug a USB into. It's actually pretty useful.
Can never have too
Convenient.
many USB ports handy.
You really can't.
Oh god, that's so true.
Well,
I'm like
Fia,
running
already-
out hardcore.
Where do you keep your VR headset since you don't have this beautiful stand we're talking about? Where do you put
This
it?
is gonna sound really jank, but I literally take my cord and I stretch it across the end of the room so that it lays out flat and doesn't get tangled up, and then I set it down and then stick my little like index cover like underneath it to block the
Yep.
light.
That
Oh
sounds
my
about right.
goodness.
Yeah.
It sounds
Oh my
like
goodness.
you could use an Aura VR stick.
It does sound like that. I'm pretty sold already, I will admit.
I was really excited when we were offered this because the Aura VR stand it's absolutely a stand that like if they I mean don't tell them this, but if they sent us this and they didn't pay us, I would still absolutely recommend this
Aw.
this stand. It is an amazing stand, absolutely better than I think any of the other ones out there.
Mm.
It's really clean. You basically just drop your headset on it. It's so easy to use.
Yeah, I've been dropping a lot of pictures with it with my headset in the Discord. So
Mm.
go
Yeah.
check plug for our Discord. Go check it out. We're pretty active on there, but it looks pretty great.
Yay.
And with that, we can begin the news. Jay, you got the first news piece.
Oh, I so do. I just love every time I get a news segment like this to throw in Rip's face. The Hitman trilogy
Oh, that's right.
is coming
Oh.
to virtual reality, but it may only be coming to the world of PlayStation virtual reality in January 2021. So this comes from PlayStation's actual blog. They say Hitman 3 is the end of the trilogy, but it's only the beginning when we talk about Hitman in VR. We're proud to announce that we are bringing VR support to every location from all three games. Every location from the world
That's
of
crazy.
Assassination Trilogy can be played in VR when you play them in Hitman 3. We're working to finalize the specifics for how PSVR owners can enjoy Hitman in VR, and we'll have more details to share in the months ahead, end quote. So right away, this just blows my mind. I mean, I have always just wanted to get my inner sociopath out in VR and just strangle somebody with some piano wire. Just even in the trail, you just come up behind them and you got the piano wire and you just grab it. Oh,
Oh my
But-
goodness.
but the really exciting thing that I really also want to talk about, like we're talking PS5, so who knows what this means for PSVR, but how does everyone else here feel about this? What do you think?
It should be on PC.
Well, I gotta say, this is really this is at most one of, if not the biggest developers that have brought their game to full VR. Like we've had some VR experiences here and there from some of these larger titles, but this is a full, huge title that is fully coming to VR. This is a really big deal.
Yeah.
I
You know?
feel like this has to be, especially when they mention where is it? The only the beginning when we talk about Hitman in VR. That's their words, right?
Mhm.
So that makes me think I'm sure that what happened was these developers put on some VR headsets like, guys, this is the future. And proceeded to like, all right, we're gonna make a VR. I'm hoping this means we're gonna get a proper not just ported game, but like a true VR Hitman game, which would be so cool and should be on PC. Uh, and but I'm sure that like before they did it, they're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool and a little bit easier to first port all of our games? That's my guess on what happened here.
It'll be interesting to play it first person because the Hitman games I played, I always played third person, and I always thought that was like really cool that way. But VR's got to be first person. We've learned that by now. Like it's just the way to play games. So I'm interested in playing Hitman. Think it might bring back some love because I haven't played a lot of it since like Hitman 2. I really loved. I'm hoping this will like totally reinvigorate Hitman for me because I loved Hitman 2, but then they kind of fell off with more of the games that came out. So I can't wait. But I'm gonna be playing this on a PS5, so I don't even know what that means yet. But I'm hoping that means it's actually going to push the PlayStation VR headset as far as it can go into like better graphics and better detail, and we'll get to see like what can this headset do with all the power, and then I'll just be waiting for the PSVR 2 though. Of course, so.
And so I have played a lot of the Hitman series, and including the World of Assassination trilogy. And I gotta say, it's going to be so much harder playing it in first person because you rely on that third person so much. Playing it on
Look around
first
and
person, it might as well be an entirely different game. It's going to be so close and so intense. I wish it wasn't just PSVR so that I could play it because this is one of the games that I would be over the moon excited about. But I don't have PSVR.
Right.
Gotta get one.
It's a
PS5.
desperate
man.
attempt to keep you on PlayStation right now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a PSVR anymore. They understand that Index and Oculus is where it's at right now.
Right, but
That's
they're doing
right.
such a good job with the exclusive games. Like Hitman only coming to PSVR. Ah, come on,
They're smart. They're playing you. They know what they're doing, man.
Right?
If the PlayStation VR 2 is a good headset, I mean, I'm going to get the PS5. I know that because I love a lot of the exclusive series that are on the PlayStation. I really want a new God of War, and I really want a new Horizon. I'm looking forward to all sorts of games on that. So I'm going to get it anyway. If the PSVR 2 is a good headset, if more AAA games come out like this, I can see myself getting it. So you know what? They're doing their job. They're making me want it.
If they're getting ripped to be able to convert, that's a big deal.
I mean, it has to be on a PSVR 2. Or, you know what? I wouldn't even mind, truth be told, I wouldn't even mind the PSVR as it is right now. The big thing for me is the controllers. The controllers are so dumb, and they need new controllers. That would make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not spend another $300, $400 right now happy, but
What's next, Adam? You got some
Right.
news for us,
So what's
right?
next comes from about the Vive Cosmos Play headset. So this week, Vive has announced that the newest headset, the Vive Cosmos Play, is switching to an enterprise-only headset. Now, this is going to be a really big deal because the Vive Cosmos Play was going to be a really big deal in the inside-out tracking. It had 6 cameras, incredible tracking, really good displays and cameras. And, it's going to be enterprise only. They're not even going to try and sell it to consumers. Vive has really been juggling this idea of whether they want to be consumers for games and everything or enterprise for businesses. And, this is just another indication that they're stepping out of the VR market for gaming.
which is super unfortunate.
This is
Go
just
ahead, Doug.
HTC's. This is HTC's kind of thing they do. They spread themselves too thin. They had phones that were rated the top smartphones, but they also had phones that were totally budget pieces of crap. And so it gave them this terrible mixed message. Some people loved them and some people hated them, and they just got all convoluted. I feel like they're making the same mistake again in VR. They're trying to go too many directions with it. Like pick a lane and stick with it. And they're just not. So I'm worried about their future, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
And
I
they
me as well.
definitely-
actually feel kind of the opposite. I'm actually really excited
really?
to see them going into the more like enterprise kind of direction because I feel like the biggest thing that's holding VR back right now is that the mainstream hasn't necessarily accepted it into their everyday life. For right now, it's
Right.
very aimed towards like gamers and whatnot. And knowing that there's bigger companies who are going to start using VR for just a wide array of different kinds of purposes, and kind of having HTC actually focus in on those and those more business minded, or even like the older generations, like bringing those people into VR is going to be huge and making it more of just an acceptable kind of mainstream thing where you walk into a store or an expo or whatever and people are showing off their products virtually. Like I see that being an incredible thing by them going all in on this. Like I see why it sucks because them pulling it out makes it a lot harder for like all of us. But I see it being a long term really good thing. It's just how I feel.
I have a
No,
You're
hard
I'm
right.
time
actually
believing a headset's going to get big in enterprise unless it's wireless, though. That's maybe they're going
Mm.
to surprise us with a really good wireless module, but I just don't see a huge amount of businesses taking this into their everyday if it's wired. So that's my word. I would love to see any company really take off with any sort of VR headset in all their offices at every desk, but I
We're getting
worry.
closer, just not there yet.
I
I think
actually disagree with you, Jay. So I actually think that being tethered to a computer is actually going to be one of the better features because if you're in a VR headset, like I'm looking at this from someone in my field, a programming field, where you can meet together in VR, you're doing all of your work at a computer anyway. It's okay to be wired to a computer if that's where you're doing your work, your programming, you can have your desktops up, sync with your computer really well. It makes sense to be wired to a computer. Adding the wireless option will just be an added cost that these businesses won't want. Everyone has a computer. Don't you guys have computers?
But is the future still computers? I maybe I'm looking
That's a
way too
bigger
far here,
question.
but
Whoa, whoa.
like the HoloLens is a completely built-in device. Like, can't I don't know. I'm going to take us too far down the rabbit hole, so I'm going to cut myself off here. But like, if every station could have this headset that's wireless and does the things their computers, what if the companies don't need the computers? Like, that's the future. I
That's
think
a tall
that it could
order.
actually replace it all. I know it's big, but that's my view of what I want to see come. I'm hoping. I'm sitting here hoping.
Mhm.
All right, title of this episode: Jay hates computers. Right?
I would like to say
I
that's not true.
I initially was also thought that this was not great news because I mean I've seen previous companies that uh, th- admittedly the general line of like companies that go into VR, they release a VR headset, the VR headset absolutely fails, no one buys it, then they try enterprise, they get some mild success there but not enough to really keep their business going, and then they go bankrupt. I've seen that like 5 times now. So that would be my worry. But what Fia is saying is also correct. I've mentioned this before. Laptops, desktops, these things become big and popular once everyone has them, right? No one bought laptops until suddenly they needed a laptop for their job, and now everyone has laptops. So if VR can get there, then yeah, that this is huge. I also think we might need wireless because I imagine sitting at my desk at like a cubicle, and now I've got to get the VR headset. I got to clear space on my already cluttered desk because the cord's gonna run and get it all hooked up. And I could definitely see the appeal and just like it's wireless. I just throw it on. It should still connect to your PC, especially if you want to like pull up multiple windows and like do some multitasking. So maybe we're just not quite there yet, but absolutely,
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
think this
It
is
is
just the start of it, really. Is
right.
we're taking these initial steps, which probably are going to be kind of iffy in a lot of different ways, but to get to the like future that we want, which is where it is accessible and for everything, we kind of have to take these beginner steps is the way that I kind of see it.
Absolutely. And if there's a company that can do it, it is Vive. Vive was
Mhm.
one of the first to pioneer this whole VR thing, right? They were one of the big ones. It was them and Oculus going, we are going to make VR a thing. And they did. They succeeded, even
Mhm.
if they're floundering a little bit right now.
Mhm. Just a tad.
Just
Just
doing
a
some
tad.
soul searching,
Maybe a
right?
little bit.
And yeah, this is what is that headset that released? Not like that long new, but like relatively recently that is just kind of bad. The Vive, is it the Vive Cosmos? It's
The Vive Focus, the Vive Plus, the Vive
There's
There's
just
Cosmos.
been
so
so
many
many of
Vives.
them.
There's
Yeah,
so
there's a
many
lot.
ones.
Pretty much anything with the word Vive in there is not doing insanely well.
Yeah.
They might have to die, but at least they'll get it started, and then someone else will take over for them.
Mm.
right.
Yeah. Walk all
And
over their corpse to
HTC
get to the finish line.
HTC is a big enough company that they've got a bit of a cushion to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move us on. Not that big a cushion.
Yeah.
So I'll take this next one. So the Roman gladiator-esque Swords of Gura announces a 1v1 tournament this week with a top prize of over $1,000, which maybe isn't enough to, it just pays for your rent, but hey, this is pretty
It's
cool.
enough
It's
to
cool to
upgrade to
see.
the index.
Yes, enough to upgrade to the index. Oh, maybe I should play a little bit more Swords of Gura.
Get that money back.
Yeah. So, wait a second. This is okay. Never mind. So, if you listened to our wonderful guest last week and think, man, I would like to get in on that VR esports action. Well, this is a great way to do that. So, it's open registration. Anyone can participate, which is pretty cool. A lot, like if you want to break into a lot of these like VR or not VR, just leagues in general, it's hard to participate in these sort of things. But open to anyone, just get your sword or VR controller as it may be, and you can join this. Registration ends this Friday, August 13th. Is that going to be
That is this
Oh.
Friday.
That is
When
this
when
Friday.
the podcast goes up, it's gonna be too late.
Well, when the podcast goes up, you'll have all of 4 hours.
Oh my god.
Better get on it.
Okay, the podcast. Do we know what time it is? I mean, it says Friday, August 13th, but I have on my calendar here
Yep, midnight
August 13th.
Western.
Midnight, what, like PST?
Midnight US West.
Okay.
Pacific time.
So, okay.
So you have a
it'll be
time
too
limit,
late.
Rip.
No, it'll definitely, because the podcast goes live at 3 a.m. PST. So if you are hearing this, never mind. You do not get to participate.
So
But-
anticlimactic.
It is.
But if you were a patron and you got it a day early, you could have gotten in on
that's-
this. So what did
that's
you, what did you
right.
learn? What
There's
did you
some
learn?
motivation right there. Don't miss out by becoming a patron.
I would not have thought of that little plug. Oh, that's brilliant. Maybe I'll tease the Discord, be like, "There's some important news.
Be
You
a
guys
patron.
So
only
cruel.
relevant to those who are patrons."
I gotta say, $1,000 top prize. I mean, I know no matter what game it is, what esports game, what game in general, someone's gonna be better than me. So $1,000 what first place prize doesn't appeal to me that much. But if there was like tiers of money here, if they said the top 20 people were gonna get at least a little money, I might jump in on this because I could get top
Right.
20. I cannot take number one in anything. There's always gonna be some 11-year-old that's gonna beat me.
True.
So I think
There's
it's
always
cool.
that one 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool there's money. I'm not gonna be jumping in on this personally.
I kind of have to agree because, like, there is sort of always that feeling. Like, how often are you in? Like, not to like be soul crushing here, but when are you ever like truly the best at something? That's a special. Like, there's not a lot of those people.
But
And
someone
that-
is the best, and that's the
Right.
thing. There's
But,
always
like-
someone who's the best.
This is
And
a
that
lottery
person
player.
could be
best
me.
for,
This
like,
is a
no,
lottery player
2
right here
days.
versus a non-lottery player. You
Right?
can tell.
And
So someone has to win.
I signed up for this tournament. I'm the best, like no one ever was.
There was that year where the Powerball was like ludicrously high. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was like in all over the news, and I did put in a Powerball thing for that one, but
And you didn't
short of
win.
that, of course.
Well, otherwise Rip wouldn't be here, right? No, I'm kidding.
I'd start
I'm
up this
kidding.
podcast
I'm kidding.
anyway.
Mhm.
So, so obviously, if you're listening to this podcast on time or after that, what? How is this relevant to you? Well, this isn't the first time we've seen VR kind of using money to bait people to play their game.
Well, when you
And
put it
I-
like that.
Baited.
And I don't know if this is like a good or bad thing for the industry. I mean, obviously more people is better and more people playing games is better, but I mean, shoot, if your game isn't good enough that people will play it, then maybe the issue isn't how much you're paying your gamers, right? You want them to be paying you.
They are not going to tweet
Something's
about
a little
this.
backwards about this.
Whatever that was. Oh my goodness. I'm sure they're just excited about the game. They want to get the $1,000 out there to get people excited. I'm sure it's a great game. I don't know. I haven't looked at anything about it, but
Right.
we'll talk about that later. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about something else. Guess what, Pokemon fans? I'm
Oh,
speaking
yeah.
mostly to Nat, my wife out there. For a limited time, you can visit an official Pokemon theme park in VR. Pokemon has
Yay.
released an official VR theme park. It's a limited time. It's only till August 31st. You get to enjoy amazing events like the Pokemon Puzzle Map, the Pikachu Coaster, and more for absolutely free on PC VR and mobile. There is a catch. It's entirely in Japanese, and it's on the Japanese only social app Cluster. I have never heard of Cluster.
I feel like we're gonna
It's not
need
great.
Adam here. Adam, do you like Pokemon at all?
I like Pokemon, but it's not like an obsession of mine, and this is
All right.
definitely meant for people whose Pokemon is their obsession.
That
That's
is
me.
good
That's
enough.
me. I'm the.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Yeah, Sophia,
gonna say.
you may not
Definitely
know
me.
this. Sophia, I speak fluent Japanese and actually lived in Japan for a while. And so I
Yay.
was actually able to try this out on the Cluster social app. And it is definitely meant for the hardcore Pokemon fans. And it is entirely in Japanese. Like that Pokemon puzzle maze, you have to not only understand Japanese, but you have to understand Japanese puzzles, like
Oh
wordplay.
goodness.
It
Oh
was close to
goodness.
impossible.
Oh
So this
no.
is really meant for a Japanese
Yeah,
audience.
I
And
don't
it's a
think my
you've done
shame.
it?
intro to Japanese 2 class is gonna be
Oh,
too much of a help there for me.
Adam, did you say you've done this?
I did. I tried it out earlier today. A lot of free time today.
Wow. I saw this, but I was still like getting ready for the podcast and stuff. So I was like, I also really like Pokemon. So I was like super psyched. I was like, it's in Japanese.
Why am I not
No.
surprised about that? Adam, could someone who doesn't know Japanese at least get to the Pikachu coaster? Like,
Yes, you could.
Okay.
It'll take a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
Because let me tell you,
Oh,
the world
no.
itself is like a maze. Like you start in this room and it's like this big stadium and there's just doors on every side. So if you don't know Japanese,
Oh my
you're just going to
gosh.
be ending up going into like the Pikachu or like the Pokemon maze and you're going to pop out. I was like, okay, don't want to do that. You're going to pop in. They have a full bathroom. And then you're like, okay, this isn't for me. Bow. It'll take you a while to get around, but you can eventually do it if you are one of those hardcore Pokemon fans. But this is really meant
I am
for
up to the
people who
challenge.
love Pokemon. Yeah. So if you're willing to
Stream
try it
it.
out, the Cluster app, you can get it through Steam, and you can do it through Steam VR. It's really meant for people who love Pokemon and love to immerse themselves in the world of Pokemon.
Yeah,
I
please
feel like
stream
I'm.
when you try. I will come watch the attempt of making it there. This would be great.
Oh, I'd like to stream it. Well, I was kind of like debating because I have a whole bunch of things I want to stream this week. First off, there's a new VR chat thing going on called The Devouring. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, where it's a whole bunch of the
No.
best world creators came together and made an entirely like playable horror VR game that's within
What?
VR chat. So it's literally like a 5-hour game. You don't have to do anything else except for just join the world to do it. So I'm streaming that. And also the other thing that is going on is the comic VCAT is happening right now. And so it's, Japanese based, but you have all of these different creators who are like comic book artists and, manga artists and all that. And they have these booths all set up and they'll come and like talk to you and interact with you. And I'm pretty sure that actually started tonight. Probably like
Really?
an hour ago at this point. Yeah, so hopefully I get to hit that up sometime. But like that with the Pokemon and then the devouring, I'm like, oh my god, there's so many things
There's a
I want to
lot.
do now. Like, how do I pick? What's it cover?
Oh no! Now I fell out of my seat.
This dang log rolling around.
Right?
It's much harder to sit in VR than you think, people.
I mean, you just have to like. All you have to do is accidentally point relatively close to the seat and press the trigger button, and that's it. You're out.
Man.
We'll have to get. I don't know. Fiat, you're a busy person, but if you got the time, we can try and force Adam to go through it again, and he'll
Be my
make
tour
sure.
guide, my
Yeah, I can
translator.
translate.
That'd be fun.
Mhm.
I'll try. I'll try to get him to walk me through that because that would be a lot of time going door to door.
Yeah, tell you what, you watch my kid and I'll give her a tour.
Babysitting.
You know how on the Google like Translate app you can like turn on the camera and it'll like read like
Mm.
it'll translate as it goes. I'll be in VR, but I'll be like have it on my screen, right? VR chat, and I'll have
So
my phone
extra.
ready. And I'll go up to like signs and pull up my phone and like look under the headset, see if
Mhm.
I can translate anything.
If it works, then I'll be very impressed with your multitasking abilities.
I
Mhm.
I am doing crazier right now. Um, so um, was that it? Was that the last?
That's
That
the
was our
news.
last news.
That
Well,
is it.
no fifth news piece. All right, cool. So with that, we can move on to the game section. We want to quickly again mention our sponsor because we are very thankful for them for sponsoring this podcast. I totally failed there. Um, so, again, really thankful to Asterion. They make the Aura Universal VR stand. Super cool headset. This thing looks really sleek. We talked about it at the beginning of this podcast, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. But this thing is really cool, guys. Oh, I totally forgot to mention the website and code last time. It's a good thing I'm getting to this. I'm gonna have to like edit in a little like I messed up. Here is the code, like in the middle of the podcast.
You know, Jay had a
Little-
perfect plug for it last time too.
I said we've got a
Oh,
code for you.
yeah.
They have to stick around and listen to get it. We're making them work for it.
You just need to edit it in like a perfectly robotic voice. The code is full dive.
I had to do that in a video I just made recently. Actually, I misspoke and I had to re-record like one certain like word or phrase, and then when I tried to edit it in, it sounded all bad. I was like, oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody said anything so far, so I think it sounds worse to me than it did to everyone else. But that's like the worst is when you go through all the trouble of recording and you're like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
one little part.
I worked in I have a lot of experience working in sound, so I've done a lot of like ADR work. And absolutely, when you're trying to like when just like you want to use generally the whole scene, but like that one line, a plane passed over or something, and you're like, we gotta ADR this.
Yep.
But no matter what you do to the sound editor, it'll never sound right. You just have to
Mm-mm.
like accept it at some point.
Mhm.
So anyway, if you want one of these headsets, I know you're just at the edge of your seats. Like, how do I get this, Rip? I've been waiting. So go to www.asterion.com. If you don't know how to spell
Asterion
that,
products. AsterianProducts.com.
Asterion Products. Thank you. AsterianProducts.com. It is here. I don't know why I'm like, is it here? Did I?
Yeah, it's there. It's there. Use code full dive.
AsterianProducts.com?
One word.
Right, but
full
the
dive.
Asterion that's why it's not in caps, and if it's not in caps, I just kind of glance over it.
Skimmer.
Is that how you read? Is this the way?
Only
You would
proper
be
nouns.
surprised.
Only proper nouns. Yeah.
So go over to www.asterianproducts.com and get $5 off your order, $19.99 or over, which puts the VR headset at around $24.99, if I remember correctly.
But just
we
know
think-
the VR stand.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
It's
you're
a
getting
very
a whole
cheap
VR
headset,
headset
yeah.
for $19.99, that's a pretty good deal.
It's-
Can't guarantee it works. But
right, yeah. That's almost guaranteed a scam.
Mhm.
All right. And with that, Fia told us we asked her, Fia, what games are you playing? We'd like to talk with you about it on the podcast. And this is the one she mentioned that we thought was most interesting. So we're going to start with it. Sound Self. Now, I'm going to let you talk about it in just a second, but first, I watched a trailer for this thing and it looks ridiculously trippy.
Mhm. It's
And I
quite,
have no
it's
idea
quite
what's
intense.
going on. So tell us, what is going on with this game? I can't even like begin to introduce it.
Yeah, so basically, the episode of my show that I released back on Monday of this week was about psychedelics and VR. And so during during the research phase of producing this episode, I went and tried out a whole bunch of like kind of trippy, like psychedelic type of games. And Sound Self was one of the games that I tried out, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. Kind of expensive at $30, but I'll give it a go for the sake of giving it a go. And so it's really, really crazy, right? Is you put on your headset and you like lie down and you basically start off by humming and it'll give you a note and it's kind of almost like a mantra kind of thing and you go like
Okay.
and then you make this like this hum, right? And then the game itself actually starts to react to your voice and it starts to react to the sounds that
What?
you make. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. And so it uses your microphone, so you have to, like not have any like interference or anything of that. But it
Right.
uses your microphone, and then it takes in the sound. And I have no idea how like the math works on that as far as like the programming goes. But it like takes that and then starts producing all of these interesting visuals. And so you have all of these crazy colors, and you'll have like shapes like circles and like stripes and like paint smears and all of this stuff kind of like shaping around your voice, and then the different like pitches that you make and the different types of sounds that you make. And then at certain points as well, if you kind of start being quiet, it actually starts to relay your voice back to you. So if you were singing something like a
What?
minute ago, you'll start to hear the echo of that echo back to you within the game, and you're like hearing all of these like tones like layered on top of each other. So it's definitely like it definitely puts you into the kind of like a trance state because you have all of this sound, and sound is very very powerful. Like the different like tones and how your brain is like responding to that. And so that mixed within these different kind of like layers of like psychedelic and trippy visuals is so interesting. And what really stood out to me too is that when you're in a game like this, right, and we're in VR chat and you're looking around, like everything is very stationary.
Right.
But some of the visuals, while they would like, be in the world around you, were also like tracked to your headset. So if I would like look around, like it would move with my eyes and move around like that, and then kind of like trickle back into the background. And so it was kind of this weird like connection between like you and the virtual world. And I absolutely was like thrilled by that. I think it's so cool because I had never thought about like an interactive VR game to where it actually uses something about you as the user
Mhm.
to produce an experience. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't say necessarily it was like worth like $30 because it's something that you'd play a couple times and be like, "Heh, that's cool," and then never touch again. But it was definitely worth the experience. Absolutely. So I hope to see more kind of stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have tried it out for yourselves.
How much time did you spend on it?
I did two 15-minute sessions, so I did half an hour total. They have two different game modes. One was called Sophia, which is, I had to try that one because I'm Sophia. So
Of course.
I can't remember what the other one was called, but I tried out both modes, and yeah, it was really really crazy.
This sounds so cool. This is definitely like, now that you've explained it as much as you have, I worry, not that I smoke weed or anything, but if I happen to, I don't condone drugs on this podcast, but if I were to happen to, um, this sounds like the kind of thing that someone would be just like stoned and be like, I remember that game, and then tries and be like, whoa.
It's
This sounds
definitely aimed for that kind of experience.
right. But I mean, it sounds cool anyway. As someone who's into audiovisual stuff,
Mhm.
I'll admit when I first heard this, I kind of was worried that it was like geared kind of solely towards like people who are like, I don't know, using psychedelic drugs. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, it sounds interesting. But now that you've explained it like in the way it's doing what is basically an audio visualizer, is what that's called.
Yeah, totally.
And um I happen to really like audiovisual. I like for a while YouTube was just recommending me audio visualization stuff because I was like kind of on a streak of watching a bunch of videos like that. So this actually sounds really cool to me.
Mhm.
And I mean, not everyone's going to be like a total audiophile like I am, but for people that are, that VR and audio and like a really like but well done, this sounds really cool.
Yeah,
I
it's cool.
mean,
Yeah.
how's this might be like tricky to answer, but how are the
Mhm.
graphics?
Yeah, that's it's kinda hard to explain because it's literally all, like, blobs of colors, so it's not
Right.
exactly like it needs to be, like, pixel perfect definition there. But, I mean, it's very vivid, especially on my index. The
Okay.
colors were very vivid, and it was nice too because it was constantly changing, so sometimes it would be, like, black and white, and then other times I'd have bright, like, oversaturated, like, blues and pinks, and it just really depended on, what sounds I was making and how they were reacting to it. I
Mhm.
didn't feel like I had any control over it. Was probably my biggest complaint. Is
Mm.
Right.
at certain points it felt like it was just kind of doing its own thing without really like caring what I was, what sounds I was making. But it was
Right.
reacting to it nevertheless, which was still cool.
You see, and that's the biggest turnoff for me personally is that I do VR a lot for the gaming and for the experience, for the interaction you have with the world.
Hmm.
And unlike Rip, who loves audio, I hate audio. and the closest thing I've ever come to a substance is like an Advil. So this, and so this is like absolutely not a thing for me. I keep hearing all this like, oh, it would maybe be cool to try out with someone else's VR headset, but $30 a shot on this thing, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah,
You
I would
know?
definitely say you have to be someone who's already interested in it for sure. Whether that is because you are a, trip enthusiast or an audio enthusiast, or you just have money to burn and you love unique VR experiences, then this is definitely a unique VR experience. But for your average person, I wouldn't say this is a must have. So I
Yeah,
don't think
but
you're
$30
missing
is a
out too
lot.
much.
yeah. And I
Is
definitely got to say, things like this are good for the experience. That I'm glad that people are taking the time to come up and
Mhm.
try these new things, try these new experiences in VR.
It's
Uh,
innovation,
yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. And any progress is probably good progress, even if it's a dead end.
you said you did 2 15 minutes. Was that it, or was there more you just haven't done? Or is it just
Mm,
basically an unlimited amount of time you do it? Like,
Yeah, it's just an unlimited kind of a thing. Like you can like customize the different things, like if you want to do like a 15-minute session or a 31, or I think there was an hour and then unlimited. So you
Mm.
could pick like how long you want your session to be, and then like I said there was like two different modes. Which I still don't really understand what the two modes were, but I tried them both out anyways. But other than that, it definitely is just kind of like, obviously it's going to be unique each time you do it because of the different sounds you make and the different way it's reacting. But it isn't exactly something. It's replayable in the sense that it's always unique, but it's not replayable in
but
the
it's not
sense that you're getting
truly.
a yeah. It's
Mhm.
the same thing each time. It's just different each time. I don't know if that's coming across the way I'm trying
No,
to
I
get it
get
through, but
I get what you're saying, and I'm actually more intrigued the more you've talked about it, because like something that this is pointing out is kind of a flaw. I don't know of the PC VR world. Maybe you can all tell me really quick, but these are all elements that we already had potentially in games. Like every headset has a mic on it, or at least most of them do.
Mhm.
Like, why do more games not use our sound? So coming from the PSVR, there was a lot of games that did stuff like this. There was Astrobot, there was Blood and Truth, there was Harmonix, where like in Astrobot, there's a part where you have to blow the leaves off of a dandelion to move on, and you have to
Mm.
physically blow. You lean forward and blow, and it hears you doing it. And like since coming to PC, the only game that I've played was the Saints and Sinners, that actually like used your mic back at you, but it didn't do a very good job of it. I found it more distracting than anything. And so I keep like waiting. I'm like, okay, where are these games that use more elements than just my hands and buttons? And so to hear that this actually does that, that gets me really excited, because I've really
Mhm.
missed that. And I just feel like we're kind of losing out on this whole element that we could have in games by sometimes using our mic to do things, like in Blood and Truth, when you could smoke a vape and it would actually be listening for you to suck and then listening for you to blow, and it would actually blow the smoke out. Like, I don't vape, I don't care about that, but it was really cool for it to actually work because it was listening to me. Like,
Mm.
I want that back. I want more of that.
More vape. More virtual
S-
vaping.
I don't condone vaping. I don't condone smoking, but anything that I can actually use my auditory power with in a game, please give it to me. Let me do it. I want to try it.
As opposed to, like speaking to us right now, right?
Yeah, that's not the same. This is just chat. I'm talking. I want to be able to blow in this campfire and see sparks go everywhere, like stuff like that.
That would be pretty cool.
That would
Accidentally
be
burn
cool.
I
down
could
the
see
tent
that.
because you blew on it too hard.
Yes, burn down the tent, burn whatever that shape is over there, standing there squatting and creepy. Rip, you finally went back and you played something we were talking about last week, didn't you?
Yes. Okay, but really quickly before I do that, on the note of like breath thing, what the entire time I was like, there's one section, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a section in Half-Life Alex where you have to be sneaky, and I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. That entire time, I was like, if I were the devs right now, I would make it where if I made a sound, it would
Oh
totally
my
get
god.
their attention. So I was like dead
Oh.
quiet the entire time, just in
Mm.
case,
Did it
because
not
I
work
didn't
like
know.
that? Did
I
was
I
it was
don't
it?
I don't
Oh, you
know.
don't know.
I actually don't know. I was too scared to try it.
Saints
Yeah.
and Sinners has built something in since, but they give you an option to like turn it off, I guess, because of streamers who were
Mhm.
trying to play the game. But I guess they had a
Right.
thing built into where you had to be quiet or the zombies would hear you. Like, that's at least
Mm.
someone's doing
Uh,
something. But now I want to know. I'm gonna find that spot in Alex and I'm gonna start screaming and see what happens.
just to see. All right, go play that game, guys. All right. So, as Jay mentioned, so last week we talked about Onward and its update. For those that are not in the know because they don't listen to our podcast, who would ever not listen to our podcast? Um, so, Onward released an update that was kind of more of a like, I don't know, what's the opposite of an update? I guess a downgrade. Um,
No. Oh.
where they did include quest support, and that was really cool, and we did touch on that. So it now has not just like side quests, it has proper quest support. If you go to the Oculus
Yeah, native
Quest
quests.
store, native quest, if you're on the Oculus Quest store, you can now pick up Onward, and that's super cool, and I'm all about that. But man, did it come with caveats, and not just like a small caveat. Like the whole thing as it's got some big differences. Now, Adam and I have played it since this big downgrade. Now, we were reading ahead of time how awful everything was, and honestly, that like they did downgrade a lot.
Yeah,
The
this was like
textures,
breaking news last week, right? Like we didn't get a
right,
chance to try it out because it came out right before we started, broadcasting.
right. So we hadn't had the chance to play it, but it kind of looked terrible based off the
Mhm,
screenshots we were
mhm.
seeing. The other thing I was hearing was that it was now filled with anywhere from 5 to 16. I mean, there's some mature 16-year-olds, but like, that age range of like, I don't know, screamers, I guess. I mean, really, like, and it'd be one thing if it was like, I don't know, Echo Arena, but this is Onward. This is supposed to be like a milsim shooter. The audience prior to this quest influx of really young people was like very serious, you know, milsim players that were looking for that like hardcore tactical experience. That's why they didn't play a Pavlov or Contractors. It's a really quick time to kill. It requires teamwork and coordination. And you know what really ruins that experience? 12-year-olds running into your lobby and team killing and letting everyone know where the enemies are. So between those two things, Adam and I were definitely very worried about hopping into Onward. So now we've played the game. I've got my own things I want to say, but I've already talked a whole lot. Adam, what do you think so far?
I gotta say, after trying it out, it was a lot different than the doom and gloom we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Like the differences are noticeable. They are definitely
Right.
noticeable, but they're not game breaking.
Hmm.
And maybe it's just because we hyped it up so much last week and we heard everything's like, oh, Onward is ruined, everything's terrible.
Mhm.
But I came out, it's different. It's really not as good. I gotta say, it's really not as good as I remembered it being, but it's not terrible. And if we get a little bit of a graphical downgrade to bring in a huge influx of players, I didn't really run into a whole lot of younger player problems.
Hmm.
It might be for the better. This might be the direction that Onward goes, is very inclusive to amp up the player base. Maybe Rip being a
Hmm.
little bit more of a more hardcore shooter might have some difference of opinions, but I'm excited to see what you think.
I mean, I'm pretty much on board with your opinion. I was like, I definitely encountered younger players, but I've put in probably 5 hours since that podcast was recorded, which isn't a ton of hours. I mean, my overall hours is a lot more than that. So not that much time yet, but from the experiences I've had, I tried doing, because I knew I'd be talking about it. I did some server hopping. I played on as many maps as I could to like get a sense of how does everything look now? How does it feel? There's definitely a lot more younger people. So far, though, they all were like fairly amicable to learning the game.
Mhm.
I didn't have that many problems, and I'm sure if I'd kept hopping long enough, I'd encounter someone who wasn't helpful. But I don't know. It wasn't like my entire experience was ruined. For the most part, everyone still plays the same. There's definitely a lot of new people. So like some people who are always all grumpy whenever new people join their game when the game gets a big update or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, these new kids and don't know how to play this
Mhm.
game right." I mean, have some patience, guys. But overall, fairly good experience. The game, I felt like honestly ran a little bit better most of the time due to the update. Because since it's quest friendly, that means for PC it like runs like, I don't know, what's it like, Minesweeper. Like it's just flawless.
Like butter.
Yeah, like butter. So it runs really great, except there were some bugs. Not like it wasn't like an overall thing where like I was like constantly running into like frame rate drops or something. It was more like I kept with just in the servers I was in, and I didn't experience this personally, but a lot of people kept getting this bug where they like their headset would start flashing black and white, and they had to leave the lobby and join back in. I had an
Was that
issue.
quests only though, or was that rifts too?
I think it's, I don't know
Quests already
actually.
have that problem, so that might have just been them.
Oh.
Mhm.
And but then I had the same without the black and white flickering screen thing. I also like, I wasn't, there was a twice where I had to, like, when you choose your loadout after a round ends, I couldn't choose a loadout. It was just like, it wasn't doing anything. And I had to back out of the lobby and then join back in, which is a pain if you've got like people you're playing with and you try to join back in and someone's already filled that spot that you had. So that was kind of annoying, not gonna lie. But that happened twice. Now, maybe twice over a 5-hour period, I guess that's a lot. Like, that's not, I don't know, maybe I'd have preferred that over like a 10-hour period. So there are some issues, but absolutely it was overblown. I don't think the game's like, it still plays like Onward. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thea,
it's still the same game.
do you play many shooters? Did this news reach your community, or is this
No,
totally?
I am definitely not a shooters type person. Never cared for shooters, especially I had very strict parents growing up, so that was never something I really.
Uh,
That's why I'm the Pokemon obsessed. That was my culture. So I can't relate to this one. I know that they're great, and I'm sure that it's a lovely experience. Not for me.
That's so funny that
Mhm.
you say that though, because like in my family, Pokemon was evil. I played like shooting
That
game.
is so
Pokemon,
funny.
Pokemon and Harry
What?
Potter were like evil
I
though.
had friends
Man,
who didn't do
Pokemon was
Harry
my
Potter.
childhood.
Yeah.
They're called monsters, pocket monsters. That's evil, obviously.
Oh my
Of
goodness.
course. Haven't you seen a Pikachu?
Yep, looks evil. Those eyes. Oh
Those soulless eyes.
man.
This makes me want to go play that
Anything more
thing.
about Onward? Because I want to hear about Adam's
Oh,
game.
I suppose not.
Mhm.
So, like Jay hinted at, the next game we're going to talk about, we mentioned it in the news post, but Swords of Gura. I saw the magnificent prize pool of $1,000, and I thought that could be me.
Lottery.
Someone's got to
Right?
win.
Yeah, no. So I picked it up today, tried it out. I have a whole 2 days to practice to get ready for the tournament, right? But
Mhm.
it was actually a really good game. So the really easy comparison to it is going to be Blade and Sorcery. So Blade and Sorcery has some really great physics to it. It takes a little bit of time to swing when you have bigger weapons. It really does melee combat great. Swords of Gura approach this. So everyone knows, I don't know if you've seen like Skyrim VR, but you can like melee combat in that is just weird. Just because of how
Right.
because of how VR is, you don't get a whole lot of feedback. So you can sort of do like a sword wiggle around and get the enemies, right? And so Swords of Gura fix that problem by when you hit someone or when you get hit, your blade shatters and it has to take a second to reform before you can use it again.
Hmm.
Oh.
And you can like lock your blade so you can sort of charge up your sword for a half second and it becomes unbreakable, but you also can't hurt anyone with it. So a strategy is when someone's swinging at you, you make your blade unblockable and you parry with it and then strike back at them. It is a really good game and a really smooth back and forth. But there is a learning curve.
Yeah.
When I first joined into the game, it's all VR right now. It's early access. They're planning on adding a single player campaign, but for right now, you join into a lobby and you will just get beat down over and over again. It is a real trial by fire. And the players are good. And, there's sort of like an honor system where if you see someone fighting someone else, you just back off and leave them be, right?
It's not
But
1v1.
man, what was that?
It's not 1v1.
There's a 1v1 mode, but all the lobbies I found were like these big 10-person matches.
Oh my God.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
not. I had no idea. None of the footage I've seen. I've seen a lot of footage of this game. Not a single bit of footage has shown it more than 1v1.
No,
So
there are some
this makes
incredible
me more
maps out there
interested.
too. Yeah, there's some incredible maps of multi-tiered layering, like different heights. You can jump down on top of someone with your axe and just totally nail them.
Uh-huh. Is it
And that
kind
was
of
the
like?
only time I hit someone. What was that?
Have you ever played not VR games, Chivalry or oh, what are they? But like the big medieval like team versus team combat games on flat screen games. Have you seen any of those?
I've seen what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Does it from what you've seen, I guess, does it look similar to that?
No.
Mhm.
No.
I
Okay.
can't say it does. It's really like a multiplayer Blade and Sorcery. That is the closest thing I can come to it. It's really a sci-fi setting, and so you have like laser swords. Everyone's a robot that you're fighting against. It just feels like a sci-fi Blade and Sorcery, and it is tough. It is tough, but really rewarding once you get into it. So I put in about 2 hours into it today, and right by the end of the 2 hours, I was finally able to start scoring some hits on people. There is a learning curve, but it is a really rewarding learning curve once you get to it. I can't say, even more than Blade and Sorcery, it is rewarding when you're finally able to start putting some hits in. I recommend the game. I will get knocked out first round of the tournament, I'll let you know, but I'll have fun doing it.
I definitely was worried about how they'd handle combat because, like you said, the weighty thing. It's like, how do you make it, especially a multiplayer competitive game? How do you handle swords? And I could not figure it out. And from what I've seen so far in the games I've played, for the most part, the answer is they don't really do it well.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear you say that they managed to do it. Do they have weight to the weapons, or did they just sort of give up on that completely in favor of their interesting system?
The weapons do have weight, and you can really feel that on the two-handed weapons. So if you switch from a giant two-handed battle axe to a little quick dagger, which was my favorite weapon, there is a significant difference. But the real key element, I gotta say, is that blade shattering. That really makes the difference in a VR competitive mode.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good. That sounds interesting. We'll have to pick it up, especially with this tournament that no one can join because it's going to be too late by the time they hear about it. All right, and then lastly, this isn't a new game to any of you guys, but we want to touch on it, especially because FIA plays an enormous amount of it. So this is VR Chat, the application, or not application, the game. I always say application because like it is a quote game, but because it's such like a social experience, it always,
Mhm.
of the VR games I have, it never really feels truly like, oh, this is a VR game. It's more like, no, this is like a VR social. I guess it's a VR social
Yeah.
experience that has games. It
Universe.
also has universe, VR
It's like
universe.
a
Yeah,
network. Yeah.
network. Yeah. So
Woo. There you go. My trackers are
so
going ham right now. Hold on.
oh no.
There we go.
Well, they seem to look fine on our end.
All right, cool.
Um so Fia, you play the most out of VR Chat here. I gave my little attempt at describing what it is, but for those, there
Mhm.
are a lot of listeners for this podcast that actually don't have VR headsets. So
Mm.
for them, they maybe have seen a bit of footage because VR Chat gets probably the most viewing out of all the VR games. But you know, sell this game that you play so much of.
Yeah,
They'll
so
go
VR
watch you
chat.
afterwards.
I feel like for most people who are interested in VR, a lot of them their interest kind of stemmed from things like SAO or Ready Player One, right? Those are kind of like the two
Right.
big pieces of media. And the real appeal in those is this idea that you get to fully embody like a virtual character and live a fully virtual life, and then
Mhm.
interact with other virtual people in that way. And VR chat is basically kind of the closest we've got to that right now, minus the RPG kind of parts of things.
Right.
And so the concept of VR chat is that you go into the game and you get to put on a virtual avatar. You can find like free ones or you can upload your own, which obviously I've done, and I'm assuming you guys as
Right.
well. We like our custom avatars here. But you can join in, get a virtual body, and then you can start playing this game by going into different like instances of worlds and stuff. And there's all these kinds of different worlds. And there's the ones that people have uploaded. So people can make any kind of world they want via Unity and then upload it as a world to VR chat. And then all of these different people can come and gather there. And you can either do this in kind of like a public, like mingling kind of kind of way. Is kind of the what you're expected to do is to go into public worlds and you meet new people. You just start talking. It's a great way to kind of meet new friends or make new connections because everybody has something in common, which is liking VR.
Right.
But if if you're more interested in just kind of hanging out with your own friends, you can pull up a private world, kind of like we're doing now, where it's no random person is going to join us here in this recording right now, and you get this interaction with people that you wouldn't necessarily get when you're far away from someone. So the kind of the thing that I like to explain to people is my boyfriend lives in the UK. And so
Mhm.
during quarantine and stuff, I don't get to see him. I haven't seen him at all during this time. And instead of just, calling him on the phone or whatever, we can hang out in VR, and then he has a physical body like presence that I can interpret, and it gives this sense of closeness and feeling that you don't get with any other kind of social experience online. If you're on a Discord call, well, you have to look through the camera. If you're on a phone call, whatever. If you're texting someone, whatever. But when you actually have somebody else's body and presence that you get to interact with, it's such a more like intimate and realistic experience. It totally takes
Absolutely.
communication to the next level. The other thing that really pulls me in is, like I said, people upload their own worlds and stuff, and so basically all of your like fantasies and like dream worlds that you could ever think of. Like I love to visit like Legend of Zelda worlds because I'm a huge Zelda fan. And so for
Oh, that's
me,
cool.
that was the thing that kind of got me really excited about VR chat, as I realized that people were uploading like maps like ripped from the games that you could go visit, and I could feel like I was Link going on an adventure through Hyrule, like physically like looking around in first person. And I was like, whoa, this is the
Wait,
coolest thing
they have
ever.
ripped Zelda maps?
Yeah, totally. There's like
Oh
Hyrule
my
from
god.
Ocarina of
Oh,
Time. You
you
can go
have
to
to show me these. Oh, please show me these maps.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, that's like that would be my childhood come true.
Hold on
Oh, that's so
one
cool.
second here.
No worries. While she's
All right, don't mind me.
so, while she's answering her call, whatever she's doing. So we've played a bit of VR chat in relative to people. Like there's sort of like a scale of VR chat. There's people that have like played it, enjoyed it, and like I come back and visit it every once in a while. For a while, I was in VR chat regularly because I would actually study in VR chat,
Mm.
which I could go into detail, but it's definitely a unique experience. But there's definitely like when you enter VR chat, there's people that are fairly new, have got some time in them. There are some people in a VR chat that are like super heavy VR chat users.
Mhm.
Power users,
It's
yeah.
absolute power users. I've encountered a puzzling amount of people that actually only play VR chat. They haven't touched a single VR game
Mhm.
besides VR chat. That's the only thing they play because they're not there. As cool as VR is, and I mean, I would never do that in their shoes, but to them,
Mhm.
the VR is just an accessory to really enjoy VR chat to the fullest. Now
They're
you
like,
you play some VR games besides
Right,
VR
right,
chat.
right. I play some, but I will say I have a strong bias. VR chat was definitely the thing that gave me the push towards this all. Like I said with those Zelda worlds, as soon as I experienced that, I was like, okay, this is freaking awesome. Um, there was no going back from that moment.
If I'd heard that there was Zelda ripped maps in VR chat, that might have gotten me on VR a little
Mhm,
earlier than I did get on.
now, for the people that aren't, they may find out they want to see the social side, but they may not want to come in for that at first. These Zelda maps, are you like actually, is there combat? Are you doing stuff or are you just seeing it? Like,
it's
what else
mostly
is
just
there?
seeing. It's mostly just seeing. People have like avatars that they throw in, and like, oh, I can be Zelda, and I'm gonna take this avatar, stuff like that. There are some worlds that have a little more interaction to them, where you can like pick up different items and interact with them that way. But as of right now, none of the Zelda ones, at least, are there's no like playability to them. I will take that back though. There is one world that's like an avatar world where you can actually kind of go through a dungeon. It's the Kakariko village where you go underneath the well, and there's
Mm.
like the shadow temple and stuff. There's like a world where you can actually go around and earn the avatars by like completing puzzles and stuff that way, which is really cool. But I think now that we have Udon, which is the big like world building update and stuff, I think people will probably start incorporating that kind of stuff more into fan worlds as well. And right now it's mostly like unique concepts and people making things that are like their own ideas. But I can
Mhm.
totally see fan worlds being made for things like Zelda, where people make where you can like go like fishing and swimming and throw a sword around and break pots or whatever you want to do. So I definitely think we'll get there, but right now it's definitely more about the just like exploring and seeing everything from the first person like immersive experience.
Well, and don't forget the social experience of meeting and talking to all the other people, right?
Oh, that's
You
true.
go to a
Right.
Zelda world, you're bound to find people that love Zelda that you
Mhm.
can, talk to and share that common interest.
Totally.
Hmm.
It's a really great way to find people who, like, have the same kinda interest as you is by going to a certain world and just, seeing who's there and talking to them.
Well,
Hmm.
especially in today's day and age with coronavirus preventing people from going out as much as they used
Mhm.
to, VR chat might be a great way to keep on your social interactions with strangers.
Mhm.
Don't lose it. Well, I know we need to probably wrap up the game section, but one thing that kind of led to this, I was scouting worlds trying to find a place for us to do the podcast, and I found this one world that said it was basically a test to try and push Udon to its limits to see what it was.
Mm.
And it was called Relaxation World. There was nothing relaxing about it. You ended up hitting these jump pads that threw you across this giant map. The world looked amazing, and then you picked up these machines that were called water bees that you could then go into this part of the underwater map and direct them, and they would be pulling you through the water
Wow.
really fast. So I think there is
It's
more.
super cool.
I started going through Reddit trying to find there is other worlds that have other interactive things, and I want to see more of that side too, because I want to find some of the like what are the activities. So that's definitely something I would love to hear more as any of us. If you find something, if you see something on stream, shoot us a message and tell us, because like I know the murder party's really fun. Like even
Mhm.
though
Oh, yeah,
even though you're
yeah.
just grabbing a janky knife and trying to stab someone, it's definitely not obviously built as a game, but it works and it's
Mhm.
really fun. So there's more to do. The social, it's huge social, but there is more to
Mhm.
do. Like if you're going in with friends that you don't really have anything to talk about, like you can go do stuff together too.
Yeah.
VR
I
chat is
usually
pretty
play
much
it single
limitless.
player. I usually don't go into VR chat and play with other people. The majority of my time is spent just, like, joining different worlds and just exploring them. So I think anybody who's, like,
Oh,
afraid of spending time in VR chat because of the people, like, you can open up a private instance and just do your own thing. Like, you don't rely on anybody else unless you want to. There's nothing, like, forcing you to do that.
exactly.
Right.
Try it no matter what. And even if you don't have a VR headset, you can play it flat still and check it out and
Mhm.
just see what it's like. It is pretty cool.
Hmm.
And then
Mhm.
get a VR headset because it's worth it.
That was me, so you guys won't be alone in that.
Yes.
So, I'm looking at chat here. Rio says hi, by the way. I don't know if you know a Rio, but he says hi.
Hi, Ria.
So, but he reminded me. So, as we move into the discussion section, if you have any questions for us, if you got any questions for Fia, we'll try to answer at least one or two of them before we proper end this podcast. And for those that are sticking around once the podcast ends, we will be live streaming. Uh, well, we try to go at least till 8. What time is it now? It is, yeah, you got, there'll probably be some extra live stream time for people. So, again, if you're not keeping in touch with us on YouTube and or Discord, come check that out because the live stream goes private the moment we are done with it. If you missed out on the live stream, you missed out. It's not going back online. You only see
Mhm.
the podcast, of course, gets uploaded along with all the clips from it. But if you want all the live stream stuff, you get a little bit before the podcast, you get a little bit after. Come check it out. But anyway, we're gonna move into the discussion section. But for those who are typing in chat, having fun there, if you have any questions for Fia, for us, reach out, put some questions in, and we'll see if we can get to you. So now the discussion section. So again, Jay kind of mentioned we don't have a lot of time. We have roughly 10 minutes to talk about
Mhm.
what is the future of VR entertainment, which is like a ridiculously huge topic. How do we even
Mhm.
touch on that?
10 minutes, go, right?
Yeah, 10 minutes. I know. I'm like, oh man. But but before I hop into it, does anyone have like anything in particular they gotta touch on?
I think mostly we made this question because Fia's here. I
I
think
have
we should
lots of things I
definitely
could touch on.
definitely let her go off a little bit and see where it takes us.
Yeah, Fia, what do you think?
Well, I have so many thoughts, and obviously, like you said, there's tons of different directions that you could take this question. But I think what makes me so interested in it is definitely kind of with my show, right? Is the virtual reality show, and the catch is I talk about any and all things related to like virtual reality inside of virtual reality. And a lot of people, I think the reason that I've had so much success with my show this far because I've had it for less than 6 months and I'm at 30,000 subscribers, which is kind of like kind of
Right.
that's pretty crazy growth. And I think the reason that I'm seeing that is because I'm doing something in VR entertainment that people haven't necessarily seen before. And I'm realizing that as more and more people get their hands on headsets, they're getting more interested in VR entertainment. And well, what is VR entertainment? What does that mean? Well, it means something different to a lot of people, and what it currently is gaming, right? It's either a social experience or a gaming experience. But what I'm really, really excited about seeing is the kind of real world entertainment that we have, like going to the movies or watching a TV show or all of these kind of different experiences that you could get IRL, like watching someone perform or a play or anything, and taking those real life experiences and then making it so that anybody can experience this in any way virtually. So all you need is to have a headset and you can kind of have any of these real life experiences without, leaving home. And the coolest part about that is that you actually get this full customization over what's going on because if you go to the movies, well, you have to have like a budget for like doing all these different things on the show, getting the big screen set up, and if you have to own a
Hmm.
movie theater, there's all these different things you have to do. You have a play, you have to do it, make it fit within the confines of a theater. Well, in virtual reality, you have that complete customizability and control to make anything you want happen. And that's what makes me so excited is because I can see all of these endless possibilities of entertainment and interaction that we don't have when you're like staring in front of a screen versus being able to be immersed in something. And that's what makes me really excited. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts that bounce off of that.
Oh yeah, but as you said, the time. I mean, the thing is, it's the thing that keeps bothering me about virtual reality as a whole is people keep thinking it's only gaming. And I'm not going to
Mhm.
talk too much crap because this is a VR gaming podcast. But there is so much more that VR can do beyond this. Just as you've said, you could have a play that has unlimited potential of what you could actually accomplish in it. You can have every experience already in VR chat. Even, I mean, you can go hang out on a rooftop in a city and watch movies, not the current movies that are out that are pirated or anything, but movies. There's everything. And virtual reality is so much more than just gaming that I get a little
Mhm.
frustrated when people just put it in that box all the time and think, oh, it's just for nerdy gamers. They don't know yet. They're going to try it and they're going to change their minds. It's the future is going to be crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not to say that there's going to be some hard problems getting there. The problem with VR is that there's such a high barrier to entry to get into all of this amazing content. It's sort of like saying, everyone space is great. Everyone should try going to space at some point. There
Mhm.
it costs a lot of money. There's a lot right now. There's some tech know-how that has to go into getting it all set up. There's a high barrier to entry that's preventing people from experiencing these things. And so I think that the technology has to progress to the point VR has to get cheap enough to the point where more people can start experiencing it before it really takes off. Is
Hmm.
is one of the problems facing it.
I
Come on,
think that's
Oculus.
definitely the current problem is the high barrier to entry, like you said, is people either don't have enough money to buy like, an index, which is, dropping $1,000 for the whole setup. Most people don't have
Right.
that money lying around. And then same with the people who are trying to make these kinds of experiences. And that's why, again, why I feel like my show is successful is because there's not a lot of people doing what I'm doing because there's not a lot of resources for them. And for me, like I had to scrounge the internet like crazy to try and figure out all these different VTubing programs and all this crazy stuff. But that's kind of my whole mission and stuff is I'm trying to like bring this information and share it with people. And I think like I'm really excited because like you said, it's still hard for people, but we're literally at that beginning point where things are starting to kind of roll. Like just like when like laptops started becoming like mainstream and stuff. We're seeing it coming into the hands of like every average like household. And that's just makes me excited.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait to
Oh,
get there.
Mhm.
it is so cool to see like in my friends network. I've got a Discord server that's pretty much dedicated to just like the old friends from high school.
Aw.
Um, and because I'm still pretty close friends with like I'm pretty, I don't know, I guess, uh thankful, lucky to have a group of friends
Mhm.
that goes all the way back to like kindergarten, like
Aw.
old friends.
Aw,
And there's
that's
like a
cute.
lot of them. That's like six different people. It's like I don't know anyone else who's got that. But it's so cool to see them like one by one picking up VR headsets.
Mm.
Like seeing all your friends get into VR, I cannot wait for the day when everyone has these things. And that's when we're really
Exactly.
going to see some interesting VR entertainment solutions. Because right now, entertainment requires an audience. And the
Mhm.
problem with VR is that while we're getting there. I mean, there's more, apparently, the statistics show that there are now more people with VR headsets than there are 4K monitors. That's a lot of people,
That is a
right?
lot.
I'm one of
That's a
them.
great stat.
I do not have a 4K monitor.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a little tricky because the 4K word by itself can. A lot of people have not 4K, but what is it? It's like close. It's not UHD. It might be UHD. But it's basically like a version of 4K that a lot of monitors and TVs put out to like kind of pretend that they're 4K.
Mhm.
So that might be screwing with those statistics because that's actually most quote 4K TVs are actually UHD TVs. So that might be affecting things. But besides that, I think, where there's people, there will be people of interest.
Mhm.
It's super cool to see, like, of course, we're going to be jealous here that we don't have 30K subs already. But
Hey, you'll get there. You'll get there. It's just a matter of time. It really is.
but honestly, like, we do this because we love it, and it's so cool to see channels like yours that are blowing up and like really making VR like cool. Like, it's not just a gimmick. It's
Mhm.
something that a lot of people should be interested in, and that's super cool to see. Really excited for where VR entertainment goes, and I
Absolutely.
mean, we're seeing with so many new programs that like clearly in terms of what can be done in VR, we're like in such an experimental phase still.
Mhm.
There's really cool stuff. VR chat, really cool. Rec Room, also really cool. But I feel like within a year there could be like a new thing in VR. It's so crazy how fast things are moving.
It's so exciting.
It
I
is.
always get so giddy over it. I'm like, I wonder where we'll be in 5 years from now. I wonder what about in 20 years will we have our, full dive like nerve suits? I say, oh my gosh. I get carried away in the speculation, that's for sure.
Probably
I
just gonna
talked
have a
about
chip you
this.
put on your temple by then. You won't need any of that. You
Yeah.
just put
Oh,
one
there you
little
go.
chip
Right.
on
Get the
your temple and
Neuralink, yeah.
just
Yeah,
drop.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's sort of it definitely. I'm profiling myself as a total nerd here by saying this, but I don't care. Definitely that Sword Art Online thing. Like, oh man, when we get to Sword Art Online levels, even close to that, like I cannot wait. I've said this before on like 5 different podcasts. Cannot wait for that VR MMO to be done right.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Wasn't there like
That'll
a,
be
a really
what
evil
a day.
element to that show and what happened to everybody who went into VR? I'm
you
just
know what?
asking.
They could prank everybody by pretending that
whole-
that's happening too. They didn't even have to actually be evil, but they could frame it, and everybody would start like shivering. Oh my god, what's going on? I
yeah.
could see the world's biggest prank right there.
All right. as much as I want to keep talking about VR MMOs because I could go all day.
Mhm.
Yes, you can.
Oh god.
Shush. We got a little bit of let's see. We have 1, 2. Is that a question down there? In order to give you a really boom, Apple would have to first. No, it's more of a comment.
Does it have a
So
question mark, Rip?
well, like, no, it doesn't. But so first question from Slash asks. Oh no. It has HP reverb. We've been avoiding HP reverb
Oh
as
no.
because it,
Ask it. I'm not afraid to piss some people off.
right, yeah.
All right.
If careful, I don't know if you've touched on the HP reverb yet, but be careful because the flight sim community it really is like if you touch their baby, the HP reverb
Oh, they get
G2,
mad. They
it's
get
not even out
mad.
yet. But if you touch it, say anything negative, they will come after you with pitchforks. We have discovered that. But anyway, so
Mhm.
he asks, when do you think Valve will release a new headset? Both seeing they're still backed up on orders and they've been helping work on the new HP headset. So I guess we can avoid the HP reverb in this discussion.
I think
Probably a
it's gonna be a
while.
while. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, it'll be a
they'll
while.
add a mod to it maybe to make it wireless, but I don't think they'll be getting a new headset because they're backed up. They still have plenty they can milk out of this one. Like, why would they all of a sudden say we need to make a new one when they haven't even
Mhm.
fulfilled how many orders? I mean, Rip, how long have you been waiting for your index? Like,
We don't
people
talk
are
about that.
still waiting. People are still waiting. Why would they suddenly switch gears? Because then everybody will cancel their pre-orders.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't
In
know.
my
I kinda
personal
like the
opinion, Valve
secretly
only
thing.
works on things when they're really trying to either introduce a new tech or sell a really interesting feature. That's what they did with their games. That's what they're doing with the headset. I would give it at least 5 years before we see any new headset that's designed and made by Valve, in my
Touching
personal
on
opinion.
that, do you think Valve may not even make another one? Is that possible? They'll just keep producing
Yes,
content.
I
Yeah.
actually
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's cool. Valve is an ecosystem. They're not a direct supplier. And so I think that they made the Index, which is incredible headset, in my opinion, best in the market. And, I think they might just leave it and keep building out the VR ecosystem and let individual,
Mhm.
like other companies, build the actual hardware for it.
They
That's
do
my
that.
opinion.
They do
Fia,
that.
you were gonna say something there?
Oh, I was just gonna say maybe they're pranking us all by like not shipping out the indexes because they have a whole stash of all the index twos they're waiting for. They're just
I would
playing a
be so
trick on us
upset.
all, you know?
I know.
I think that's wishful thinking more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm expecting a good while still before I get mine.
It's gonna come with Half-Life 3 installed on it too, right?
There
Yeah.
you go. Exactly. Yeah.
Ah, dang
one
you, Valve.
one can dream. All right. Next question. We touched on this at the beginning of the podcast, but Mason Carter asks, "Does Fia have full body tracking? She seems to be able to articulate very well." The answer is no. She's normal, and the rest of us have rods stuck through our bodies. We can't do anything about it.
I know
No,
this question is
paralyzed.
supposed to be complimentary to Fia, but all I got from that question is like, man, the rest of you look like crap, right?
That's being sensitive. I took no offense.
Yeah,
So
full
Fia
body
is in
tracking.
full body tracking. You wanna tell them a little bit about that? What does that mean? Full body tracking. How do you do it?
Yeah, so basically, the way that it works is that you have these sensors, and ooh, I'm falling again. See if they work some of the time. But you have these sensors that you attach to your feet. So I have one on each of my feet, and then I have one that I strap to my waist, and then I have my base stations that came with my Valve Index, and I have one over in like this corner of my room, and then one in the opposite direction in that corner of the room, and then they basically both are able to track the position of my sensors that connect to my body, and then that way it relays that information back into VR so that it looks like I'm actually fully controlling it. There's other applications where you can actually get more than 3 sensors, but for VR chat you're only stuck with the 3.
Mhm.
But I'd hope that one day I want to get like my elbows done and my knees done, but that's they're like $100 per puck is what they call them, so it's definitely a hefty expense there.
If you
Right.
want to go cheap, you can get an Xbox Connect, and it's not going to be as articulate, but it can do full body.
Those
What
are
is
pretty
it?
good for the waist, is what I've seen. Is a lot of people have a lot
Mm.
of trouble with the feet tracking, but as far as like kind of like the hips and being able to kind of like more bend around, that the Connect seems to work a lot better for that.
What is your routine when you take it all off? How do you charge all this? Do you have like a hub of just USB cords everywhere? Because
Yeah,
that's
I
what,
have
5
so many
things?
USBs. I have so many USBs. It's terrible. But yeah, so I have these like USB cords. I have 3 of them, one for each puck, and I plug that into my computer. And so they attach directly to the pucks. I take it off my waist, off my feet, and plug it into my computer, and that's how it charges. And then when I take it out to like put it on my body, I have these little like connectors that are what take the feedback for the information and exchange it from the base stations and the trackers back to the computer. And so I have to plug those in. It gets a little finicky sometimes, I will admit, especially if I restart Steam VR. Sometimes they'll just go black and then I have to replug it in, hold down the button for like 30 seconds, make sure it works. Oh, it's not working. Now I got to
Oh,
replug it into a
jeez.
different one. It can be a pain in the butt, but it is so worth it. I can't even describe the feeling of having legs is you have never been more thankful for legs in your life until you have full body tracking. I will say it.
Well, and I imagine the waist one is on a belt. You keep saying feet. Are you wearing like, are they on your ankles or are they actually strapped like to a sock kind of apparatus? How do the feet one attach?
Yeah. So I have it's like a strap with a Velcro, and so I have this
Mm.
part on my foot where it like screws around. So I screw the tracker onto the top of the strap, and then I strap it around my foot, and then it Velcros back to the top. And so I just wear socks with it. I know some people wear shoes. I've done it barefoot, a little itchy, but not terrible.
Oh,
And then there's other like ways to do it. I know people like have ways to like connect them to their tennis shoes and things. But
Interesting.
yeah, tons of different ways, but the most basic way is to just strap them on there.
mhm. super cool. For those that are listening in, I will just tell you verbally, it's like it is pretty night and day. What us compared to PHIA here. I mean, it's super cool. This is making me jealous. Not
I
gonna
know.
lie.
That's
Yeah.
how I felt. I got it from peer pressure. I was like, oh, I want to be one of those people. And it
um,
works. It works. The peer pressure works, and I have no regrets.
stop it. I don't have the money
I'm
right now.
just saying, once you can, you should.
All right, all right. So, though, quick little note: if you're like, "Oh, I can get full body tracking in VR," that's like application specific, dear listeners. It's not like every game will suddenly track your feet.
No, no, no.
All right. And with that, we do have to wrap things up. I see some of you have brought in a couple extra questions. Unfortunately, that'll have to go until overtime. But in terms of the podcast itself, those of you listening in, watching our clips, this marks the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening. We had PHIA here, who was an exceptional guest. PHIA,
Oh,
how
thank
can
you.
they find you?
Yeah, so I am the virtual reality show, all one word on YouTube. Very bright rainbow colors with my face plastered all over everything, so
She's
you won't
super
miss it.
findable.
Very, very findable. On Twitch, it's Fia Bunny, one word. Instagram, Fia Bunny, one word, and then Twitter is Fia_Bunny. So that's the only
Ah,
real exception there. So
someone stole it.
um,
Dang it.
I know, exactly. But I
Hate
stream
that.
3 times a week on Twitch, so you can catch me there live, or I do a new video every single Monday on YouTube. So that's how you can find me.
Yeah, check her out, guys. Super cool, really cool channel. It's like in terms of the YouTube channels I've seen, especially for VR. It's because it's so new and coming. It's cool to see some, you know, as someone who is a producer myself and an editor, I like to see YouTube channels that are well made, and
Mm.
hers strikes me as one of the ones that's well made, which
Aw,
I'm always a fan
that
of.
means a lot, really. I feel like a total noob sometimes. I watch my videos, I'm like, oh, this is so bad. I should have done this and this and that. So it
Oh,
means a
don't
lot to
worry.
get those
Oh wait,
kind of
that feel
compliments.
you will be the biggest VR YouTuber, and that feeling will not go away.
Yep, I'm convinced. There's always the second person in the brain that's like, nope,
Yep.
nope.
So check her out, guys. Check us out too. For those of you that are just watching us on YouTube, you've never seen us before. We've got first off the Discord server. A lot of stuff happens there besides just us hanging out. We're always in Discord. We're always answering questions. Our Discord server is not yet so populated that we can't talk to our community, and it's super
Mhm.
cool. And we're going to take advantage of that for as long as we can. So lots of interesting discussions there. Come check us out. If you wanted to get some Q&A, that was at the first section of the podcast. That's from the Discord server. Join the Discord server, put some questions into our Q&A section, and we will get to you. Well, we try to get to you. Sometimes we miss one. And then we've got the Patreon. Again, if you wanted to hear about that Swords of Gura tournament on time, we record Wednesday and the podcast goes Friday. And you know what? Some news, it's only relevant that those first 2 days, I guess, in our favor, because it makes us try to get you to get on our Patreon. That's $5 a month. And one, you get bumped up in terms of Q&A questions. 2, you get early versions of the podcast that are stereo. And trust me, the intro and outro songs sound beautiful in stereo. And we'll try to add more stuff down the road. But in general, those are like our 2 biggest things, short of just you're supporting us, which is always fun. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you are watching, consider listening if you are road tripping at these weird times. And if you are and if you are listening, perhaps consider checking out the YouTube channel and again, seeing us. We got some cool stuff. And that is all.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you,
Bye.
We'll
Fia.
see you next podcast.